what you may not know is that you're looking at someone whose career spans so many different aspects of private sector, public sector. And it's someone who, when he spent some time in Washington, D.C., working for the head of the Appropriations Committee, the senator, actually had the privilege of having a full lunch with Mr. Knight, Phil Knight, the then the founder of Nike. A wonderful lunch, I understand. You walked away from the lunch and you said, who is that? Or did you know who that was? But I was very intrigued reading about your background, growing up in Portland, Oregon, 7 siblings as I understand it, but from a very early age having the spirit of giving being inculcated by your parents. And we sort of see that spirit reflected throughout your career. When you were trying to understand the challenges of homelessness, you made the decision to actually sleep outside for 3 nights, to sleep like the homeless, to better understand the issue. And you've had a very successful career in the private sector, in finance, putting together very complex deals. And I was very intrigued to hear that you focus on the principles of having great people, caring for the issues, honesty and integrity as sort of the core values that you bring to this. And when we spoke, you mentioned that when you saw the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, your biggest concern was, well, how are we going to actually achieve this without education? So that was perhaps part of the inspiration, taking things forward for the Global Standards Institute. We'd be very keen to hear a little bit more about that inspiration, what you hope it will achieve, and as a first set of questions, and I'll come back and ask you about what it may mean for islands. But let's start with your inspiration for this and your hopes for what this might achieve globally.
Thank you very much, Angus. And he definitely overstated my career path. It has been met with a terrific amount of failure. I've had probably the hardest 18 months of my entire professional career in this last 18 months. I don't know that it's going to continue to get any easier because these through lines are very difficult to think through in an authentic way, in an honest way. So as I sit here in front of you with literally the inspiration of my wife, I can be honest with you. You know, I've had and been to places and spaces that are hurtful, and I had to recover over those things. And I don't know many of you, some of them I do. Ambassador Tony, what a lovely time to see you again. Thank you, sir, for being here. It's such an honor. And the rest of you, thank you. I grew up and I didn't know that I didn't have anything. But I had 7 siblings, and we fought over the last piece of Spam and potatoes, but Mom made them good. We had each other. We had the best plays. We had the best things. We had the best bikes. We had the best forts, made out of nothingness, but we didn't really know. We had a faith, though, and we had principle. And, one of those things, what inspired me and has inspired me, and I'm going to take a little bit of I just wanted to correct your overstating my career path because of the failures. The failures of what have brought some of the light to the dark places, and that was my wife. She showed me that there's a bigger world here, and even in your own garden. And there are places and spaces here, and you need to see who you are. And if you know who you are in your relationship with your maker, then you might be able to do something. And that's my wife's words. And that's not as a partner. That is an I like to call her an angel. And I heard her, and then that would begin the arc a few years ago. And then I met this cool group of people called Public, and we had a concert at a place in Dallas, Earth X. I'm a big fan of Trammell Crow. And I said, I don't want a single nickel from you, but I want to put a concert on your tracks. So you let me do that. I'll never ask you for money. but will you let me do it? And he let me do it. We had the environmental symphony here because I thought the only way to activate those 17 SDGs, I said, there is no way in hell we will ever be able to accomplish any of those. No matter how many conversations, no matter how many trips to COP, we gave, what, $330 billion or something like that. We'll fall short of that year after year. And I sat with Ambassador Toney, and I remembered that concert, and he put his hand on my hand, and it got a standing ovation. We're the only two people in the room that didn't stand up. And he said, you, my friend, will be at the United Nations this year. That's what he said to me. I said, I thought it was going to be in 2024. I didn't know he meant in the same year, which was a heroic event. Now, what's interesting about this, and I think if I say nothing to you in this room, it's the following. What I learned in that moment, we were about ready to go into 3 world wars on the 78th birthday of the United Nations, and the UN Security Council was meeting in that room the day after this concert was supposed to take place. And there were several people that tried to cancel this thing. And we said, no way. And the public folks, their team, we scampered like heck to get this done. We had it. Again, a standing ovation. If you fix and help and aid the weakest of our people and our planet, including the homeless, the child that's abused at 8 years old, and you can heal through that, those stories, then, and if you can connect with your maker, whoever that is, and if you can, to thine own self be true to 8 billion people in the world, maybe, just maybe, there is a path for peace. Now, I can sit here and tell you what I've done, what I've failed at, happy to do so, and happy to tell you the gory stories about the failures. But what's most important is the people in this room. There is going to be a future leader in here, a president, a future ambassador, leader of the UN, leader of something novel. I don't know who it is. I just know it can happen. These rooms, whether there's 1 person or 50 people or 5,000 people, there's an opportunity. And I sit here to tell you who I am, not to pontificate about what I think the path is or the right path, but I think it is a map. I think we go back to simple. We get out of bed, we go to bed. What happens in between? We're born, we're dropped on the rock, 8 billion, and we leave the rock the same way, some a little bit less pleasant than others. But a path for peace is about why are we continuing to consume, and you know the numbers, on war. Why are we throwing rocks at each other? Why are we suppressing our indigenous people where we can learn cool innovations from these island nations? So I set a course. I'm going to do something for the island nations. I'm going to do it for the smallest so that just maybe, in my Pollyannish, stupid way, and maybe another failure, I don't think so, maybe we develop innovations, cube technologies, things that we bring to the nations. The smallest nation is less than 1,500 people, the smallest island nation. And that's where I'm zeroing my energies, and Tonga, and the others. Because this is what we should do to help uplift that educational platform. If we do that, we create the next generation of inventors, innovation, cool music. And I happen to have some pretty cool people that believe the same thing, that run pretty big stuff. And that's cool, because they want to get behind this thing. They don't want to fight over the other stuff anymore. They're tired of it. They're tired of picking battle lines, and they're tired of this stuff. So for me, and I am sorry for the long-winded, but I had to course correct you on my successes and really talk about who I really am. I'm here to try to be, I'm a community builder who has 1 board member, and it is not my wife. And that's who I listen to when I go to bed at night, and that's what inspires me when I get up in the morning. Thank you for 1 more day. Because this may be the last event I ever have, and it may be my last day, but I want you to know who I am while I'm here, every day that I'm here. That's my answer.
Thank you for that. And could you say, you know, how do you sort of see the Global Standards Institute, you know, developing, sort of going forward?
We were asked by, I work for a Sovereign Wealth Family Office, which is one of the things that I do. They asked for a mapping system because of the number of failures in that part of the world. We created a map. They wanted standards. And we created a map as well as certifications for 46 industries. and we're going to be deploying those industries within that part of the world, which includes the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the GCC. Happy to talk to you about that, those specifics. But without the arc of the other answers, the answer to the question, that would not have been possible. But it's really a map. My father used to have, on a yellow piece of paper, he would dissect every company with a big fat ink marker, and he would tell you whether business would work or not. I'm going back to the simple. Let's go to simple, and let's apply the technologies. I think that what is happening with the global standards, it's really a set of instructions that allows you, this is the best path for success. Once we all agree to that path for success, then maybe we can apply the appropriate technologies that exist today in the right order, finance them correctly, and then execute with the speed of trust.
And is there a way that islands can, tap into this? Do you foresee, for example, that we might meet here next year or in a few years' time and say, here is X island or Y island who has partnered with the Global Standards Institute to achieve?
Any island that wants to participate can, but yes, I already have my thoughts on who that is and where that will start. But in Davos, year before last, we announced that we were going to build a global standards educational platform, uplisting the next generation of workforce globally. We announced it, and this year we put out a press release that we had put it together, and we did it, and we launched it. So that was 1 year. So if we can go year to year launching one thing of intentionality from 1 year to the next, we win. I think that what Trammell has built here and what is continuing with the things that I'm seeing here, I think that we set our goals that this is what we want to do this year, so that next year we come back, we do it, we have a big concert in the gala, have great food, and then we celebrate and we go, next year, here's what we want to go after. That's what I think we do.
Fantastic. Please put your hands together for Michael Sander.